Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Microgreen Thumbcast. I am here with Andy today. Robert's having some connective issues. Hopefully, he will be here at some point and join us. If not, we'll carry on. But yeah, Andy, how's your week gone?
Good. We looked at a really nice space that we're hoping to get into. We signed the letter of intent, just waiting on the lease agreement, and hopefully we'll be able to move into a 4,000 square foot space in the next few months. So that's the goal. We'll see how it plays out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's exciting move. This will be your second big move, right?
Yeah. It'll be the first time we've had to move the big farm.
Yeah,
Last time we only had 6 racks when we came in here, so it's gonna be a whole different world getting out of here.
that's awesome. Exciting times. We are also we have the lease signed, the keys are in our hands. We're slowly starting to move stuff over there and getting things laid out. For our space, it's 4,000 square feet, about 2,800 square feet of growing space. So we will actually start moving Wednesday, Thursday this week. We're going to move everything that's for planting first over there. Hopefully do one more harvest here on the next Monday and then move everything after that. So it'll be a 2-week kind of move kind of thing. So just timing everything. I don't want to move every rack that has all the products on them and it's growing because that'd be, I think, a pain. But
Yeah.
even though we're gonna have a box truck, but just the worst thing would be moving and something falls and you wasted a whole bunch of trays of food down the drain. So yeah.
Yeah.
So most of
Yeah,
our
we were
weeks
gonna
are gonna be
wrap
spent
ours
in
with
doing.
like that. We were gonna wrap ours with that big heavy duty plastic,
Oh,
to
there
get
you
one of
go.
those big rollers and to wrap the whole rack and roll it right in, and that way nothing can fall off. That was
Yeah,
our plan anyway. We'll see how it plays out.
if I had 24-inch racks, I probably would do the same.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the 18s with them hanging out. I don't know if that would work very well, but
Yeah, I didn't think
there's a
about
lot of
that.
advantages than 24-inch racks.
That there is. They're a lot more pricey. That's the one downside, but man, I'll tell you what, they
Yes,
work awesome for so many other things.
they do. All right. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about managing profitability finances for your microgreens. Obviously, a big topic. You want to be profitable in your business. You can run a business and be losing money and not know it. So know it ahead of time, and you can fix the problems hopefully ahead of time. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today and go along. Our like go today, just to let everybody know, our like go today is 35 likes. Scrolling down at the bottom. So if you can go ahead and hit that like button here and here, that will be for the giveaway. 35 likes. We have to have that for the giveaway. So let's get into it and talk a little bit about the microgreens, profitability, and finances. So profitability and financial microgreens are critical aspects of running a successful microgreen business or any business. In this episode of the Microgreen Thumbcast, we'll go over various stages of helping your microgreens entrepreneurs optimize financial operations, including cost analysis, price strategies, budgeting, tracking, and managing expense profitability. All right, so let's get into that. That's a mouthful, but it is when you're talking about money. So understand the basic cost analysis. So just not reading here, just kind of using my own spin on it. Cost analysis is, your cost of from your not counting. This is not going to count your fixed costs. So your variable costs like, soil, packaging, seeds. What else in there, Andy? For variable costs I can think of top of my head. Let's
I
see.
mean, a lot of it can be variable to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yes.
You can buy one rack and then 3 months later buy the same rack and it costs you $50 more. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's variable, yes, but that's a fixed cost that is not going to
Yeah.
change. That's once you buy it, it's done. Your
Yep.
packagings are
Thankfully.
going to be your variable costs because they're going to
Oh
change
yeah.
in price, and you're going to be buying them all the time. Hopefully,
Yep. Soil, seed,
your
and
soy
packaging.
seed packaging, who you're getting seeds from, where they're coming from, how long they're going to get to you, all that stuff. It's obviously price, but so identifying different costs, fixed, variable, direct, indirect. There's so many different costs. Your fixed costs are going to be your rent, your equipment. Variable is seed packaging. Direct cost is your labor. Andy has 9 employees. He knows all about that. And
Yeah.
then your indirect cost is your utilities, which obviously can change as well. Here commercially, they change the rate every month. So when we get in a commercial facility, we're never going to know what our utilities are going to be month by month. They're going to change all the time. Is that way there for you, Andy?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay.
they may or may not have a plan where you can get on where you pay a certain amount per month, and it's the same throughout the whole year, and then they just
Yeah.
make adjustments the next year. I know they have that as an option. I haven't looked into it, but yeah, ours ours varies greatly. It goes up about 4 to 5 times in price when summertime gets here because the air conditioning running. Unfortunately, it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. The air conditioner is going to run a lot in the microwave business, even probably somewhat in the wintertime too. I know ours
Yeah.
does. So some practical examples now analysis for microgreen business, sample cost analysis, 2 ounce packages of broccoli. So a 2 ounce package of broccoli, considering all relevant cost expenses. We identify the cost drivers which can help us cost reduce effectively. Tips on reducing production costs while maintaining quality, minimizing waste. Waste is a big part of cost. Effective harvesting practices, buying in bulk, and utilizing business accounts. So minimizing waste. Obviously, when you're harvesting, there could be a lot of waste with that if you're not harvesting correctly and getting majority of everything off of there. So cutting just above the soil line and getting all the yield out of that is highly critical. What other waste expenses do you think, Andy, that we have?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one. Obviously, if you're filling seed, for example, like we fill little cups that we pre-measure
Mhm.
and everything. And I always get on my employees. I'm like, you don't understand how expensive this seed is. If you dump even a little bit on the table, pretty much, especially if you're getting like sorrel or something like
Oh
that, where
yeah,
the seed's crazy expensive. So just little things like that. I mean, but really, a lot of waste can be in your time as well. I mean, try and become more
yeah,
efficient in everything you do. Just get better at things, try different techniques almost every week, see what works better, what doesn't. If you can speed up your own time, especially if you can train somebody else to do something, quickly. I mean, I know that's where I have a huge amount of waste as an employee time, spent training, spent, them learning how to harvest, learning how to package, all the things that we all take for granted because we've done it 10,000 times. It's definitely a lot slower for them. So we see a lot of, financial waste and time waste, unfortunately. But over time, when they pick it up and they get as good as you do, it's money well spent for sure.
take the time in the beginning to train them correctly,
Yeah.
so they're not wasted down the road, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so effective harvesting practices, buying in bulk, utilizing business accounts on things like Amazon Business, setting up accounts with your seed company with the business account, setting up business account with Webstron to get packaging. They're going to save you a lot of money because you're not going to pay the taxes ahead of time. You can get that off there if you set up things correctly. You are a business, you're utilizing things for businesses, you don't have to pay taxes on them up front. So setting up them business accounts can be a big chunk of change. Here it's 10% in taxes for Illinois. So every $1,000 we spend on Amazon, say we're saving $100 every month. If you're spending that or more, obviously on other things, seeds and all that stuff that we don't have to pay taxes on. So utilizing them business accounts can be huge cash flow operations. Because in the beginning, your cash flow is going to be critical. And any time in business, cash flow is critical. You don't have the cash to pay for things, you can't get things, you can't sell things. So yeah, utilizing that, reducing any of that stuff, buying in bulk. As soon as you can, buy as much bulk as you can and get that extra dollar savings and stuff, especially with seeds. Seeds are critically buying in bulk. Once you can get yourself to 25 pounds, 50 pounds of buying, it's critical. Did you start off, Andy, buying bulk seeds, or did you start off like we did, like 5 pounders?
Yeah, we kind of started. We started with the little tiny bags just to see what we
Oh,
wanted to grow.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously it's horrendously not cost effective, but then we kind of migrated our way up to like the 5 pound bags, and I mean, obviously now we're at the 25 to 55 pounds, depending what they're coming from. But yeah, it's definitely the way to go. I mean, you get so much more seed for your money; it's unbelievable. It'll take you a little while to go through it, though. Sometimes, depending on how,
Something.
we still have a bag of China rose radish from 2020 that we're still working
Oh,
our way through, just because it doesn't have enough
wow.
demand as the Rambo radish. So
Yeah. Our radish still is pretty good for that. So we go through a lot of that pretty fast. So we don't have anything from 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Our Rambo, I think we take about maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago through a 55-pound bag. We're pulling a lot of
Wow,
Rambo radish. It's
nice.
insane.
Yeah, that's moving some radish there.
Yeah. It's part of our big mix.
Yep. So your fixed cost, obviously rent is somewhat fixed. We do have a 3% increase in our rent every year, not every month, every year. And CAM and utility costs, CAM and taxes can adjust every year as well. So you have to plan for that going into the next year. Keep that in mind if you're paying rent anywhere. If you're getting a space, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be close. Build that into your costs as you plan out that as well. Yeah, any cost drivers that help reflect efforts, definitely keep that in mind. Okay, implementing effective pricing strategies. So you know your costs. So you've got all your costs figured out. You know where your costs are going to be. Now you need to figure out pricing strategies. So obviously the sheet that we have in our Microgreen business coaching program can help all of this stuff we're talking about out really good. We've given it away on here. Might be a giveaway today if we have 35 likes where you can figure out all your costs, but definitely it will help you with that. Explain comparative pricing impact on profitability. So you can't profit 50 cents a package and make money. You're not going to make money at that. You're going to lose money. So yes, you're over your cost, but you're not going to make money. So the concept of pricing strategy impacts the profitability, setting the right price for Microgreens products to maximize revenue while still providing value to the customer. Pricing decisions directly influence Microgreen business profitability, both short and long term. So you got to be fair with your customers and with your wholesalers or whoever's getting it. But you also have to be fair with yourself and be in business next year. If you're giving away, you're making 50 cents on a package, like we said, you're not going to be profitable. You're not going to be able to pay yourself anything. You're not going to be able to help anything. So if you're cost you $2 to make a package and you're selling it for $2.50, $3, you're not going to make money. So you got to figure that out. Andy, what do you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's really a matter of thinking about every single aspect of your entire process. How much is your soil costing you to do a tray? How much are your seed costing you to do a tray? How much, harvest weight are you actually getting out of that tray? And if you sold everything at 2 ounces, how much money would you make off of that tray? If you sold everything at 8 ounces, how much money would you make off of that tray? There's a lot of little calculations. And in my case, I've got rent, that goes into that. I've got employees that go into that. I joke that I make $1 an hour, and it's the truth. And it's because, I want to build a good team that I can take with me as we move forward. So, my cost per pack is enough to kind of cover everything we've got right now. But once, if we can double or triple what we're doing at the moment, I mean, we'll be in great shape with a very good, qualified, trained team. So I'm purposely putting myself in this situation. I don't have to. I could fire all my people and do all the work myself if I wanted to work, 20 hours a day or whatever to keep up with it all. So, but it just doesn't make any sense to do that. So that's why we have people on board. But yeah, there's a lot of little factors that can go in. But you should be, I mean, at least 60, 70, 80% profit margin on your microgreens, so you're never going to get anywhere, unfortunately. And that's when you're selling it directly to retail, because as soon as you discount it for wholesale, you still have to know you're making money on those wholesale items. So, which I'm sure Mike has to deal with a whole lot more than most people because he's working directly with grocery stores.
Yep.
Or Robert's probably, he doesn't worry about wholesale pricing.
Yep. Yeah, we our business model is set up to make all the money we need to make on wholesale price. When we sell retail, it's just a bonus for us, So that's how we set our business up, and that's how we set our costs up and everything like that. But depends on the strategy you're going after. With Robert, you said, doesn't have to worry about that. He's selling straight to restaurants, so he's getting premium price for all his products. So,
yep.
Which hopefully we'll get into more. We got some restaurants, but nothing like Robert's got. That's for sure. So yeah, setting your price is extremely important to set the correct price up. So factors to consider when setting prices is production costs, marketing demand, competition, and target customers. So your competition can determine this a lot. Somebody selling it at $6 a packet, You can sell it at $5.50 and make money, or sell it at $6 and just grow a better product. Maybe you grow a better product and you can sell it at $6.50. You know, just because they sell it at $6 or $5 or whatever it is, doesn't mean you have to do that. You have to be competitive. You can't go crazy and sell it for $8 a pack or anything like that. But be competitive, but make sure you're still making money off of it. And what size company is it? Is it a big guy that can afford to discount your pricing and knock you out? You know, so don't try to compete with that. They come in and you're selling at $5 back and they sell it at $3 a pack. You're probably not going to be able to compete with that. There's no reason to try to be in that realm. Just have good quality product and still charge your correct price. So competition can make a difference on that. Cost plus, value based. What are you going after? You know, we're going after market based pretty much. You know, what our market can handle. Our market here is about $5 to $6 a pack. Andy, are you the grocery stores you sell at? What are they selling it at?
Same, $5 to $6. We sell them for $6, and the grocery stores sell them anywhere from $5 to $5.50 to $6, depending on what they want to do.
I was curious because I know you're in that Northeast area. Sometimes a little bit stretch on higher pricing over there.
Yeah, in certain spaces you can get away with it. Just depends on where you are. We have a lot of rich cities right around us, but we also have a lot of poor cities around us, so it's kind of a fine balance between the two.
Okay. Yeah, that level mix there. Level mix.
Yep.
All right, determine the right pricing strategy. Obviously, but remember, no two businesses are exactly the same, like we said. So select the pricing strategy that aligns with your business goals. Experiment with different strategies and adjust based on your customers' feedback and market dynamics, which we kind of all covered there. So yeah, just keep that in mind. What is your business goals? Don't build your business based on what somebody else's goals are. And the lovely word of budgeting and the importance of that. I love budgeting, but I also wanted to be an accountant, went to school to be an accountant. So I like numbers and budgeting, but that's not for everybody. I know that. So that's why I do a lot of that stuff for everybody. For the wife, I pretty much take care of the budgeting and make sure we build that for the business and everything. So I'm a spreadsheet person. I love spreadsheets. So even though QuickBooks does a lot of the work for me, I still like seeing it in a spreadsheet because I know it's accurate that way, and I put everything in there. And it's probably still accurate in QuickBooks, but you know, I just love the spreadsheet. So
one would hope so.
That's me. What's that?
I said one would hope so. That was right in QuickBooks.
It should be, but I don't trust it all the way. I still like to do it myself. But so budgeting obviously is the process of creating a financial plan for your business. Even before we drew anything or did anything, we had a budget on the spreadsheet. Okay, this is what we're planning on. If we do this much in sales, it's going to cost us this much for stuff, and put all that on there and everything else, so you know what it's going to cost you for your seeds, your packaging. What is that cost going to look like? You know, and what can you afford? We didn't start at the top. We didn't, buy 18 racks like I've seen online and never sold a thing. That's dumb. Buy what you need. We bought 2 racks from an old Subway that closed down that weren't the right size, but it gave us a space to grow on. The lights were hanging off of it, but it started. So start cheap. You don't have to buy the nice expensive stuff and buy 18 racks and all the lights that go with it. Trays are going to go with that. That's just not a good way to go. Lean is best. Helps you set up your financial goals, in budgeting, following up, reviewing your budget on a regular basis to help monitor your progress. Even if you're just using the QuickBooks program and you're not nerding out like me and putting it all in a spreadsheet again, make sure you're checking that and making sure that you're making money. Because some expenses might sneak in there that you don't realize when you're not keeping a good tabs on it. You're just spending stuff. It's going in QuickBooks. You got the money, but are you profitable? Are you making money? So check that on a regular basis. Make sure that you're checking your QuickBooks or whatever app you're using, spreadsheet, that you're making money. Sometimes things can get out of hand. You can go buy a dehumidifier you didn't know you needed, and all of a sudden now that blows your budget up and you're way out of whack. So you have to go buy a large Marge, because your little crappy one's not working like we had to do. But we have stuff like that built in our budget that's emergency kind of money sitting there if something goes bad. Because it's equipment. Even if you buy a large Marge, there's some point large Marge isn't going to work forever. That dehumidifier is going to break down as much as we put them through. Most of these are made, these commercial dehumidifiers even, are made for like going in and dehumidifying some area that got wet and taking that stuff out. It's not meant to run 24/7. So they're not going to last forever. Andy, anything else you got on that?
No, yeah, I mean it's definitely, and even if you're not a budgeting type person, I mean one thing you can just think about is, what are your general expenses in your head? So if like for example, if you're moving from one place to another for rent and your rent's going to go up $500 a month, and you need to cover $500 a month in profit, to be able to cover that cost, and it can just be an easy thing to think about, and it could be something that helps drive you with your goals of making sales, is to think, okay, I need to make $500 more per month as quick as I can to try and make up this difference in cost. So you can approach it that direction as well if you're not like a numbers guy or an Excel guy or a wannabe accountant here like Mike is. So you can always take it like a little bit easier route and try and just think about, okay, what are my overall, and think worst case. So like if your electric varies from $100 to $500 a month throughout the whole entire year, then budget for $500 a month every month. And then that way, at least when the worst months come, you're going to be covered, and when the best months come, you're going to be $400 over, what you actually needed to have that as profit. So, you don't have to. As far as the variable stuff goes, I mean, seed and things, it's a lot tougher because you're buying seed kind of randomly, unless you can work it into where you know exactly how much you need all the time, which is tough to do, especially when you get to the point where we are, where we're growing so much, like Mike and I are. So. But for the most part, your general expenses that you have a range of, just try and work with that, and it's not too bad, to put together. Just even a basic budget is better than nothing, for sure. If you just go in blind, it's not going to go well. So make sure you take the time.
Yes.
Part of being a business owner, unfortunately.
Yes, it is. That's part of it. So remember, utilizing the budgets to make informed business decisions. A budget acts as a roadmap to guide you in decisions in the future. So use that roadmap, use it effective. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to start out going on a road trip without knowing where you're going. Some of you might, but we don't. You know where you're going. You at least have a general idea of where you're going. Now, sometimes there's detours on that road that you got to take in business. It's not always a straight line. You're not just going straight somewhere. It's a wurvy line that you're going down. So just keep that in mind. But it's at least a guide and a roadmap where you want to go. But be willing to change. And as you grow, you're going to change. Like every time you get new business, it's going to change that roadmap. It's going to change that budget. So keep that in mind. So you want to make sure you're tracking your expenses effectively. Need to make sure you're accurately tracking your expenses, understanding where your money is being spent. This can help you decide where you can find potential cost savings. So say packaging, like that is one thing that we dove into and try to find the most cost-effective, best package. So we didn't want to overspend and get one that was crazy expensive, that wasn't good for our area, but one that was good packaging for us, that was a good effective cost. And that may take some trial and errors of buying some packaging and find out what they are. We went through probably 4 different packages before we settled on what we are on now. I'm sure Andy probably had about the same
Yeah,
process.
we've had, and it's even worse when you're in a retail space, because everybody that wants to sell packaging just walks right on the front door and, hey, look at my cool packaging. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's see how it holds up to mine. But yeah, it's definitely a process to find the packaging that you really like. And it's different depending on what you're doing. I mean, Robert's packaging doesn't have to be quite as crazy because he's just selling directly to restaurants, where, Mike is in grocery stores. Our grocery store stuff has tamper resistance built into it, for that reason. I mean, our regular customers, our restaurants don't care if it has tamper resistance, but it's just a little added value for, a customer that's in a grocery store. If they see 2 microgreen packs sit right next to each other and one is tamper resistant and the other one's not, and they're the exact same price and they look exactly the same, that could be enough for them to make that decision. So, just little things like that to think about. So buy your packaging based on where you think you're going to sell, and just, try a bunch of different ones. Like Mike said, I mean, ultimately, they're all just a plastic package, but what closes the easiest, what's not going to take you a ton of time every single time when you're harvesting to close, or to seal or to open or whatever. How is it packed? So if it's packed really crappily and it's in like, junky bags that rip open all the time versus like thick bags that aren't going to tear open. So, your packaging is clean when you get it. Little things like that can even make a difference. So yeah, just definitely take your time, shop around. I mean, same goes for soil, same goes for seed, everything else. I mean, there's always cheaper options out there. It's just a matter of how cheap you want to go before you start sacrificing quality essentially at that point. So yeah, just get what you can, get the best of what you can within your budget.
Yep. Yep. And that goes, like Andy said, for everything. That goes for racks, trays, all that,
Yeah.
lights. Get what you get for your budget. Don't go get the fancy new thing and shiny hot thing that may not even work properly, and then you're out that money. So, but you're going to experiment, and you're not probably going to stay on the same packaging, same soil when you start with, and maybe it's not even the same seed company when you start with. Being willing to change and upgrade as you go along. All right. Avoiding common pitfalls and expense tracking. Don't overlook the small expenses or irregular emergency spending, like we talked about. Having that emergency money there is key there, but every penny matters. So keep the little expenses in there. If you spend $1 on something, make sure you keep track of it so you know what you spent your money. Highly important in business, but also personally, you should do that as well. But that's just me being an accountant telling you that. Every expense matters. All right, let's talk about maximizing profitability. Before we do that, reminder that our goal like is 35 tonight for the giveaway. I know we only got 13 people in here, so make sure you share this out, get it to other people, so we can hit that goal like of 35, and share as much as you can in the groups. Any other people there would be value on this. Get this out there so we can do a giveaway for everybody tonight. 35 likes. All right, maximizing profitability. Strategy for increasing revenue and profitability in a microgreens business. Growth strategies such as expanding your product line, exploring new markets, or reaching out to new customers to keep your business growing. I've said this many times on this podcast and other places. If you're not getting new business every month, your business is not growing, it's declining because of the retention of people. You're going to lose customers as you go along. You're not going to always have them same customers. You always are going to need to replenish some customers. The growth strategies, expanding your product line. Obviously, Andy, you've done this. You've expanded since you first started, right? A lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping to minimize my product line pretty soon. To not have the store anymore. That'd be really nice.
Yeah,
But
because you don't have that storefront to sell stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but even on the farm side, I mean, we added grow kits a couple years ago. They've sold really well, and a lot of folks will say, "Oh, well, that's stupid. You're selling seed and the ability for them to be able to grow their own kit." Well, the best part is they're coming back to me every time they need more seed, and I can sell those grow kits all over the country. It's something I can easily ship. I don't have to worry about the microgreens going bad inside of a box that's shipping across the U.S. I mean, it's just a box full of seeds and some pot and little saucer and everything else in there. So it's a great way to just add something quick and easy. And you can buy all the parts, for it in bulk on Amazon and just throw them together in a little box and, mark up the price however you want. People will pay it. And then beyond that, I mean, I'm working on the software package that we've been using here for a long time. That's going to be another product for us. It's not a microgreen product, but it's still a product through our business. And both Mike and I at this point now, do like consulting and stuff like that for folks that are trying to get their microgreen business up and running. So just yet again, it's another, trail of profit back to the business. That's the goal. So sometimes you have to think outside of the box to make sure you're getting your stuff out there. I mean, I think Mike, one big thing that's helped with you for sure is your mixes. I'm sure if you were selling everything like as a direct, just broccoli, just kale, just whatever, you probably wouldn't be get nearly as much sales, but because you do so many cool mixes, I mean, that's another way to easily expand your product line. Is mix together things that taste good, and people love mixes, man. They really do.
Yes.
So, and Mike's definitely a testament to that.
That is what took our business off for sure. When we started doing mixes at the farmers markets and the grocery stores, that's what took the business off. It's not a proprietary product, but nobody knows the exact amount that we put it in there unless you're in our business coaching program. I go over that in there 100%. I'll tell you the exact mix that we do on our mixes because you're paying for that service. So I definitely do that in there. But basically, nobody knows exactly what the mixes are. So any other competitor really can come in here and make that exact same product. But we have 7 different mixes. 8 that we could do that we stopped the one line that just wasn't selling well, but 7 mixes that we're selling right now. So that right there of stuff we're already growing, so if you're growing 12 different items and you're using them all in mixes, that's now 19 that you got automatically without growing anything extra. It's huge.
Yeah. And it's neat when you can tell your customers, this is a custom mix that we put together,
Yep.
out of the stuff that we grow. I mean, it's definitely, if you're getting like spicy salad mix from True Leaf or wherever, I mean, you're obviously buying a mix that's already put together seed wise, but it's definitely neat when you actually experiment it with yourself and come up with a mix that works for you, and throw it out there as a new product. I mean, people, they love mixes. Spicy salad's one of our top sellers, directly to customer and in the grocery stores and everything as well. And we don't do as many mixes as we should. That's something definitely on my list going forward, without a doubt.
Awesome. Definitely. Again, we're still looking for that 35 likes, but if you guys want to, you can go ahead and put hashtag Thumbcast in there. Make sure it is Thumbcast with an M. We did have an in there last week, I think. It was last week. It was one of the weeks. So hashtag Thumbcast, and we will hopefully get to 35 likes and give something away. So definitely keep growing your business, coming up with new products, new product lines. We've talked about it for about a year and a half of doing a grow kit, and we've not done it yet. It's too busy to get one together. So that's also something that Andy did, which is great. And to expand on that, people saying you shouldn't sell to people to grow their own stuff. Most of them aren't going to grow it very long, to be honest. We're all business owners here. We'll talk honestly. They're going to do it for a few months. And they're going to be like, I want to go on vacation. I want to do this. I want to do that. I don't want to mess with that every day. I'll just buy it from them. I know their products are good. But them are the ones that are interested in microgreens, get their contact information, keep up to date with them, and they're going to come back and buy products from you if they're local. If you're selling it locally. Obviously, if you're selling it cross country, it's going to be hard to get them products. But it's definitely a good avenue to expand your business. So, all right.
Yeah, the benefit is, I mean, because you're buying the seed in bulk,
Yeah.
selling it in a grow kit, it's pennies, if even pennies worth of actual seed that you're putting in there. So you don't have to do any of the work. You literally just put it all in a box and say, here you go, it's your problem. And then they grow it themselves. And I mean, we put 2 things of seed and 2 things of soil in each kit, so that right off the bat, the money they're spending, they're actually getting 2 grows worth. But I mean, they may get 3 total ounces of even that out of the whole entire kit between the 2 grows. So if you sell it for $15, raise your hand if you're making $15 on 3 ounces of broccoli. I mean, it's just not happening. So it's an easy way to just sell a ton, very quickly. And it's something you can ship. It's something you could sell on Amazon if you really wanted to go that far with it. Put it up as an Amazon product. I mean, it's, you got to think outside the box with this stuff for sure, especially when it comes to the products that you can actually mail somewhere. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that idea of that, and that's definitely can be a big avenue for some people. It might turn into a complete separate business, at that point. You never know.
Yep.
So
I mean, during Christmas of, I guess, 2020 or 2021, we were still in our house, and we pushed really hard on social media about the grow kits for the whole month of December, and we sold like 300 or 400 of them in about 3 or 4 weeks, shipped all over the United States. So and that was doing it out of our house. We didn't even have a store. We didn't have somewhere we could walk in and buy it. I mean, we sold them all online, and it's a possibility. You just have to be willing to take that chance. The only downside is you have to have a lot of supplies in stock, to put together 300 or 400 grow kits. So it was a crazy couple of weeks, but it was a very profitable December. So it worked out great.
Yeah, that's awesome. 300 to 400 of them in a month. That's a good amount of money. A good Christmas for you that year.
Yeah, it definitely was. So don't be afraid to push stuff like that, man. It doesn't always have to be microgreens that you're selling.
And talking about expanding product line, when we go into this new space we're getting into, we got it planned out that we're going to do indoor lettuce, that I know I can sell every bit of it that we're going to grow, in flowers. It's going to allow us to expand our product lines beyond that. Once we get flowers in there, then I think distributors are going to open up even more for us. We're going to expand more restaurants with that. That's going to be a good in, that they can get them local and everything else. So if you have the space, we were looking into flowers and lettuce, and we were going to do it in here, but then the microgreen business blew up so much, just that end of it, that we ran out of space. So that's why we've been searching for the last 6 months for space, because I know we can make more money with more product lines. So this business is expanding into more stuff than just microgreens. Like Andy said, grow kits, lettuce, flowers, coaching, YouTube. There's so much things you can do. They're not just growing microgreens. So
But even creating, microgreens powders, and you could do
yeah,
microgreen flour, microgreen pasta. I mean, there's so many people on the microgreen groups that are just constantly putting out cool products. I know there's one guy in the microgreens entrepreneur group that I started that he's in there and he does nothing but powders, for the most part. He sells a ton of them. So it's just don't, but obviously if you go that route, you got to get additional licenses and things like that. So make sure before you just start doing that, go buy a dehydrator. Your state's laws on that kind of thing. I mean, you may be able to get away with it in a cottage food type of scenario, or you may have to get a full-on commercial kitchen to be able to do that. But just make sure, talk to the health department, talk to the Department of Ag before you even go down that road. But it's certainly a possibility, to expand your reach into. So I mean, imagine just growing microgreens and having an automated harvesting machine that you just feed them all through. Doesn't matter what they look like, how long their shelf life is, because you get to throw them right in a dehydrator, and turn them into powder or flour or whatever. So, those kinds of things are out there as options. Just gotta,
yep,
think big, basically. Don't just think microgreens, think beyond that.
yep. It's the starter. It gets you started and it gets going, and then you can expand out from there. We actually got approved to do the microgreens powder, microgreens salts, whatever we're going to call it, um, from our health department. So we got approved like a year and a half ago, and we've just never done it. Again, space and time. Um, we can create more jobs with the more things we expand to as well. So that's what we're excited about too, because the world needs more jobs.
Yeah.
So
It's really
because the
neat
work,
having employees. I mean, it's an interesting scenario to know that someone who's working for you is relying on you for money. It's definitely a little interesting. So obviously, the crazy part is once you hire somebody full time, you can't just bump them back to part time. It doesn't
yeah,
work that way. They're not going to stick around. So, when you bring somebody on part time or full time, try and keep them there. If you have a need for somebody to come up to full time, which is the other beautiful thing about our setup, and we have 8 people, but only 2 of them are full times. I have 6 part timers that are all well trained as well. So
yeah,
as the business grows, if I need more full time people, I can just say, hey, you want to work full time? Sure. And pull them right up to full time if I need to. So but yeah, they've got to get their hours, so they're not going to stick around. And if you get really
yeah,
good employees, I mean, well, I'm lucky to have some awesome people that work for me. It's definitely worth keeping them on board. So they get raises. I mean, several of my employees have already gotten raises, even though I'm only making $1 an hour at this point still. But I know the value of that person, and I see what they're bringing to the table, and I want to make sure that they're happy and they stick around. So but again, I'm doing it the bass backwards way versus how it should be done. I want to build a good solid foundation, and then that way I can build upon that foundation over time. That was really my thought process. So if you don't have the finances to be able to do something like that, then don't. I mean, hire people only when you absolutely have to. But if you're, I'm fortunate enough that my wife has a great job and kind of supports what I'm doing here for now. And as we build, we build. Hopefully in the next year it'll really start to pay off.
definitely. Yeah, when you're going to hire employees, if you need one full-time employee, hire 2 part-timers. Most
Yeah,
likely, one of them aren't going to work out. Number one, and you
yeah,
don't know who that's going to be. And then when you need to go to full time, you can do that. So every time, in my opinion, if you need a full time person, hire 2 part time persons. See who's going to work out. Get that one maybe a little bit more hours. Hire another part timer, and just keep going that route. Because like Andy said, if you hire a full time person and you're like, I only need you for 25 hours now. I don't need you for 35, 40. They're not going to be happy with you. And
yep.
then you're going to be a hustle work environment all of a sudden. And there's nothing you really did besides you just overhired. So just, yeah, definitely keep that in mind.
But and beyond that, I mean, you're always going to have people that need to go on vacation.
Yeah,
I mean, I tell my employees take as much vacation as you want. I don't have a 2 week minimum or maximum or whatever. I don't care. I mean, I have enough people to where I can easily bring my part timers in full time for a week if I have to. They don't worry about it. But I mean, I have 2 dishwashers. I don't need to. I've had as much as 3. And they only work maybe 1 to 2 days a week, if even that. It's usually like a day and a half at most. So I don't need that many, but they're kids, and they're going to
yep,
prom and they're going to college visits and they're going to, other jobs that they may have. So when one person doesn't work out, I've got another person I can throw in there. So that way it's nice and simple. I mean, the only one I don't have a second of is delivery driver, and I have one delivery driver who takes tons of vacation, and guess who the second one is? It's
You.
me. So on Thursdays, I get to drive all over creation making deliveries when she's out of town. So, and unfortunately, she's out of town the next like 2 or 3 weeks, I think. So, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Part of being a
Yep.
business owner. You got to suck it
Yep.
up and do it.
Yep. We are bringing in two part-time employees for when we go into the space. We're hiring that out, and then we'll expand from there. When hopefully I need to add one of them to full-time and keep one part-time, maybe hire another part-timer. That's kind of the plan we're going with. So I want to stop doing dishes. Number one, that's the first thing I want to stop doing.
I literally hired that out when we first started.
Yeah. As soon as
Paid my
we're in that space, I'm done.
Yeah, I paid my daughter to do it, and she still works for me, but she doesn't do dishes at all. She's more
You
like,
moved her up, huh? That's also a cool thing when you do hire people and you can promote them into a different position and they feel like they got a promotion. Maybe not even give them a raise. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but they move to another position. They feel like they're more needed, everything else, and they're happier. And then people know there's progression in the company and that you can move up. You're just not stuck being a dishwasher for the rest of your life. There's a lot of places you go, restaurants included, that you become a dishwasher, you never leave there because they're hard to find. They're hard to find a good one, and they'll just leave you there. Trust me, done
it. Yeah, I mean, I try like my two full timers. I mean, they're my main harvesters, planters, and everything else. I mean, they do all the actual farm work, and I try and keep them away from all the crappy jobs. So they don't touch dishes. They don't work on the weekends. I mean, they're pretty much 4 days a week. They work a crazy long shift every day, and they're done. Then they have 3 days off every single week. So I try and treat them really, really well. And I already told my two full timers when we get into our next space where we don't have a store anymore, I'm going to be relying on them heavily to run the entire farm. And my daughter, she's a manager in training. She's been a manager in training for about 6 months. But there's also things I can't really get her into. I don't want to get her into the bank account. I don't want to get her into those kinds of things. So for her to make purchasing decisions, is a different story. But I mean, I'm hoping to at least have her do the schedule, work with everybody to figure out who's going to be working when and everything else. Because once we get in the new space, I'm selling, selling, selling. That's my Monday through Friday. Is going to be making sales, and that's it. I mean, I'm not going to be spending time doing any farm stuff at that point. My job is to fill the farm and
it.
hire people I need to hire to have them come in. So yeah, I mean that's the one thing that can separate a good employee is just having somebody you can rely on. We went on vacation, me and my daughter, my manager in training, was with me, and so my one full-time person who's worked here for just about a year had to manage the entire group of people the whole week. We were gone. We were in the middle of nowhere, so. And she did great, so I have no complaints whatsoever. My team stepped up, did what I thought they would do, and that's why I was comfortable taking that week off. But it's only until you get to that point that you can actually take time off and have an actual vacation that you can literally walk away from the farm 100%. So you got to get good, reliable people that can do every single thing correctly. So that's the hard part. But yeah, it's you just got to find them and train them right. That's all that matters.
Yep, that is definitely right, and that all goes into expenses and tracking it and everything else, and being ready for that. And when you do go and you're going to do payroll, make sure you have money always in your payroll account a month ahead, so you never miss payroll. Because missing payroll is the fastest way to get sued and lose employees. So always make sure you're ahead on payroll. Just a helpful tip there. I'm sure Andy does that as well.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and just for quick comparison, I mean, like a part-time to full-time person can their pay can literally be canceled out by one full rack worth of sales is roughly what we were able to calculate. So if you're getting $500 a week off of each of your racks, then that's pretty much going to pay most employees if you're paying them like roughly minimum wage or a little bit over minimum wage. So like a rack and a half tops, and they're taken care of. So if you're selling 4 racks worth of microgreens every single week nonstop, then you can safely hire 2 people and still have some money coming in, is what it boils down to. So that's just one thing to kind of think about calculating wise. So if you only got 1 or 2 racks and you're looking to hire a full-time person, just do it yourself.
No.
get off your butt and go do it. But when you get to the point where Mike and I are, it's a lot of work, and it's a whole lot easier to have extra people, and then we can focus on what we need to do to grow the business and not be focusing on harvesting and packaging and all the stuff that isn't growing the business. It's just us spending time doing something other than selling.
Yep. At some point, you got to run your business and not let your business run you.
Yep.
But there are points where your business does run you, and you got to take care of your business to make sure you still are doing what you need to do too. So there's a fine balance in all that. So.
Yep.
So that pretty much covers the basics of budgeting and doing all that stuff. Everything else, obviously, we can go more in detail if you're in our microgreen support group, in our microgreen group, business coaching group. If you do a consult with one of us, Andy does consults as well. You can find on his stuff, his pages, his websites, all that stuff as well. And also us, we do one-on-ones as well. Actually, we're coming up with a new course that's a one-on-one course that we're going to do. And it's basically going to be like 4 sessions of it, because one session a lot of time is not enough to get somebody on the right path. That we found out. We can do an hour session with you. We do an hour here every week almost, plus hour and a half, and we don't cover nearly as much as needs to be covered on a one-on-one session. So if we can do that, we're going to do a 4 session thing at your discretion kind of thing. That's an hour long, and you can pay for that. We're no longer probably going to do 1 session things. It's at least minimum is going to be 2 sessions, because I just don't think that's enough for people to actually get their business off the ground. And obviously we have the business coaching, but Andy does one-on-ones as well. So you definitely check him out. We personally have learned from multiple people. I just didn't take one course and took it for gospel and used it. Took multiple courses, did multiple coaching calls with people. That goes from microgreen farming to business coaching as well through the years on how to do that. So definitely a lot of things out there for that. Never stop learning. Always be learning. No matter what level you're at, somebody can be out there to help you. Somebody's above you. Somebody's always already done it somewhere. Even if you got $1 million microgreen business, somebody's already done that. Go find them and have them mentor you. If you're looking to start a business, or you're intermediate, or you're looking to get more information, definitely check out me or Andy in the consulting world as well.
Yeah, and you may look at it as like, man, I don't really want to spend money on this, but our goal is to save you a ton of time. You can spend months or years trying to figure out all the stuff that we've already had to suffer through, or learn from someone else that we paid, to consult with. So just keep that in mind. It's just a way to jumpstart your business. I mean, we would not be where we are, I can tell you that hands down, if we hadn't taken a course, a couple years back as well. It was well worth the money, 100%.
Definitely is. You're definitely paying for time over it. You're paying to get time. You can learn all this, and it's going to take you many more time, many more months, many more years to get this down. So definitely paying for time. So in conclusion, key points we covered in this episode of the Microgreen Thumbcast were included: cost analysis, price strategy, budgeting, tracking expenses, and managing profitability are all key parts of running a successful microgreen business. So keep that in mind when you're doing that and looking this back over. Remember, we're getting ready to go in our Q&A now. Everybody's watching this on a replay. Thank you for watching. And we're going to go in our Q&A session now. And if you haven't yet, make sure you like and share this video, and we will get into that. Thank you all for watching, and let's get into the Q&A session. All right, and remember, members go first on questions.